Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to talk a little about our latest innovation, Briiv, and then the design process and some of the challenges we faced along the way. So we re-engineer and redesign consumer goods to be more sustainable and environmentally friendly. And that was our intention with Briiv, which is our first product that we've managed to put through the whole process. Briiv is an air purifier with the goal to reduce the filter waste produced by conventional air filters, but at the same time create a unit which is also plastic free and better for the environment. We also wanted to prove that electronic consumer goods could be better for the environment. So we decided that we would just do it ourselves and prove that it could be done. We wanted to do something that was good for people's health and at the same time combat environmental issues that currently exist. Air filters were just one of the things that we found that were particularly bad for the environment because of all the disposable filter waste. And nobody really stops to think about it. At the same time, these devices actively have a positive impact on people's lives by clearing the air of ultrafine particulate that causes damage to our respiratory systems. So people could have a Briiv in their home and it would help both people and the environment. So it was a win-win for us and something that we were really passionate about doing. Originally, when we were started, we wanted living moss in the product itself. And after about a year's worth of testing and trying to get moss to survive in an air purifier, we found that there were too many variables in the living moss for this kind of product. So unfortunately, we had to shelve that idea. But what it did mean was we were able to go on and create Briiv as more as we see it today, which is with the dormant moss that's been preserved. And you get the same microstructure that's within the moss, but without the living element of it. This proved to be a huge advantage. It means you don't actually need to take care of it as it looks after itself. And it's not going to die on you anytime soon either, which is great for anyone who kills houseplants on a regular basis. So moving on from that into the design process, we have years of experience designing environmentally friendly products. And it really is very much starting from scratch with the product development. In a conventional world, you would just choose normal off-the-shelf plastics that's available from the manufacturer, throw some tooling together, and then have it stamped out in one block. Because we didn't want to do that, the whole process becomes a lot longer. You have to start with finding the materials and sourcing them correctly, then making sure the credentials are as green as they say they are. You have to go back and look at how the design can be changed and how you can reduce the amount of material used, swapping heavy traditional materials for alternatives like wood pulps, hemp fibers. We also made sure that we didn't use borosilicate glass in our design, which can't be recycled, and instead opted for a hand-finished mineral glass that is readily recycled over and over. All these extra steps take a lot longer to complete and also come with an element of risk. So a lot of things we tried didn't work for the filter materials. As an example, we ran through 187 different variations of material before we were able to set on the combination we use now. We then had many months of testing and evaluation to really prove that they were doing the job that we set them out to do. As we move forward with Briiv, we reinvest constantly into removing even more plastics and even more components. Things like redesigning the fan is up next on the list, and how we can remove plastic cables, for instance. All these kinds of questions that we ask ourselves as we reinvest into pushing harder for sustainability in the things we design. Moving on to actually getting in manufacturing, the current supply chain of production can be very difficult and is not ideal for making products. In fact, the best way to have sustainable manufacturing is to have it done locally. We've been able to source a lot of parts locally and manufacture in the UK. For electronic consumer goods, the best materials for the environment often have to travel long distance. to get to us or where they're being manufactured. They are then produced en masse with components from all over the world and shipped from there further all over the world to consumers. It's almost a bit counterintuitive when you think about it. We try our hardest with carbon offsetting all of our logistics, but it's by far one of the larger issues that we have faced. For instance, some of the things you can't get around is having a lot of parts from the Netherlands, which is what the situation that we are in currently. Then getting the product from the Netherlands to where it's being manufactured has proven quite difficult. We've tried to use rail transport as much as possible, but being able to use rail internationally comes with many issues, as it is still an emerging transport network in Europe. It's hard work, it's expensive, and no one really wants to do it. It's just pushing them to make these decisions. I think it's going to take a larger, wider effort from the manufacturing community as a whole to adopt these alternative things that are a little bit more expensive now, but are better for the environment. If people start moving in this direction, the price will come down. Just being aware of the options that are available instead of just going for the easiest thing is half the battle. We always ask the question each time anything's being done: how can we do that differently? How can we do that more sustainably? And that's how we operate. We always ask why. Why we're doing something to try and get a better result for the environment, whilst maintaining a reliable product that people can and use and will be useful for them, so that they're actually getting some benefit from what they're buying. The technology in Briiv is relatively natural and uses the same principles that filters have used for many years, which is you have a very fine mesh that captures particles as they flow through or near it. The real trick is to use materials that generate an electrostatic charge as the air passes through them. This in turn makes the particles in the air stick to the filter and stay stuck within them. So that's mainly what our filters do. We have a specially designed fan that pulls air through the unit, where larger particles are removed by the moss and the coconut. This preserves the health of the much finer particulate filter that's accessible by just lifting up the glass on Briiv. As the particles flow through, they are filtered out. Filtered air is then pushed out the base of the unit. This works for PM10s right down to PM2.5s. Pollen, bacteria, and mold spores. All these things are captured and removed by the filters, all in a new way that uses less plastic and is much better for the environment. Our plan for the future is that we don't just want to stop here with this one device. We have a whole range of other products that we are working on that help people breathe easier and live better lives with the environment. So, thanks for watching, and together we can change the world.